The sky burned with a pulsating blue light as the Zorkar fleet descended, blotting out the stars. Across Earth, animals and humans alike gazed upward in fear and awe at the alien armada. From the largest cities to the most remote forests, the same chilling message echoed. Commander Vlek's holographic figure loomed over every major broadcast channel and communication network. His glowing blue eyes narrowed as his sharp voice filled the air. "People of Earth," he intoned, his words cold and deliberate. "Your resistance has been admirable, but futile. We hold your leaders, your scientists, your minds. Surrender now, or their lives, and your planet, will be forfeit." Inside the fortified factory, the resistance watched the broadcast in grim silence. Barkley, standing at the center of the room, growled low in his throat. His sharp eyes scanned the group around him. Mittens, Whiskers, Chirpy, Claw, and the other gathered animals. "They've made their move," Barkley said, his voice steady but tinged with urgency. "Now we make ours." Whiskers flicked his tail, his green eyes narrowing. "And by ours, you mean we're going up there, right? Straight into the belly of the beast?" "Yes," Barkley replied firmly. "The humans they've taken are critical. If the Zorkar execute them, it's not just lives we lose. It's the knowledge we need to rebuild Earth." Mittens, sitting with her glowing tablet, raised a paw. "I've accessed some of their schematics. The humans are being held in energy cells aboard the Zorkar command ship. It's heavily fortified, but I think we can get in." "And once we're in," Claw asked, his amber eyes gleaming, "what's the plan?" "We free the humans," Barkley said, "and we disable the command ship's core. Without it, their fleet will fall apart." Chirpy flapped his wings, landing on a nearby console. "Sounds easy enough, Squawk. Break in, rescue the brainy humans, blow stuff up. What could go wrong?" The factory buzzed with activity as the resistance prepared for their final mission. Animals of all shapes and sizes worked together, salvaging alien tech and human tools to fortify their defenses and equip the strike team. In one corner, Mittens adjusted the reprogrammed Zorkar drone that would take them to the command ship. Her small paws moved deftly across the controls, her grey and white fur streaked with grease. "The drone systems are stable," she said, glancing at Barkley, "but it's not going to hold up against direct fire for long." "Then we make every second count," Barkley replied. Whiskers, perched on a pile of crates, watched the preparations with a mix of skepticism and amusement. "I hope these humans appreciate what we're doing, risking our tails to save theirs. That's dedication." "They'll appreciate it," Barkley said, his tone leaving no room for doubt. "And when this is over, we'll all have something to fight for." Claw, overseeing the wild animals near the barricades, nodded in agreement. "We'll hold the ground here. No matter what, we won't let them take this planet." As the strike team gathered near the drone, Barkley turned to address the resistance. "This is it. Everything we've fought for comes down to this. We've proven we can stand against the Zorkar. Now, we'll prove we can win." The room erupted into cheers, the sound reverberating through the factory. Barkley looked at his team, Mittens, Whiskers, Chirpy, and a handful of other brave volunteers. "Let's go." The reprogrammed drone hummed to life as the team boarded, its interior illuminated by faint blue lights. Mittens took the controls, her paws steady despite the tension in the air. The journey to the command ship was fraught with danger. Swarms of enemy drones buzzed around them, their glowing lights a stark contrast against the dark sky. Chirpy squawked instructions as he manned a small turret. "Incoming left! Squawk! Watch out for that one!" Barkley growled, leaping to assist Chirpy. Sparks flew as they fired back at the drones, clearing a path to the command ship. Despite taking several hits, the reprogrammed vessel held together. Finally, the drone docked with the command ship, its landing gear scraping against the metallic surface. The team disembarked quickly, stepping into the eerie glow of the alien corridors. "This place gives me the creeps," Whiskers muttered, his tail twitching as his green eyes darted around. "Stay sharp," Barkley said, taking the lead. "We're not alone here." Mittens consulted her tablet, pointing down a long hallway. The humans are being held in a secure chamber 2 levels down. If we move quickly, we can avoid detection. The group advanced cautiously, their paw steps muffled against the sleek metallic floor. The corridors were lined with glowing panels, their light casting strange shadows. The team reached the detention chamber, a vast room filled with glowing energy cells. Inside each cell, a human floated in stasis, their faces peaceful, yet unnervingly still. Mittens rushed to the nearest control panel, her paws flying across the keys. "I'm unlocking the cells, but it's going to take time." Barkley and Whiskers stood guard, their sharp eyes scanning the room for threats. "Make it quick," Barkley said. "We don't have time to waste." As Mittens worked, the door to the chamber burst open and Zorkar soldiers flooded in. Their glowing blue armor reflected the light from the energy cells, creating an otherworldly spectacle. "Here we go," Chirpy squawked, diving into action. He flitted around the soldiers, pecking at exposed wiring and causing them to malfunction. Whiskers leapt onto a nearby console, using his claws to slash at the closest soldier. "I knew this wouldn't be easy," he muttered. Barkley charged into the fray, his powerful jaws clamping onto a soldier's arm. Sparks flew as he wrestled the enemy to the ground. Meanwhile, Mittens continued her work, her ears flattening against her head as alarms blared. "Almost there," she shouted. The first cell unlocked, and a human man stumbled out, his eyes wide with confusion. "What's going on?" he stammered. "Long story," Mittens replied, helping him to his feet. "We're here to save you." One by one, the cells unlocked, and the humans emerged. The pets herded them toward the exit, fighting off Zorkar soldiers at every turn. The corridors of the Zorkar command ship trembled with the sound of blaring alarms and distant explosions. The humans, now freed, were escorted by Mittens and Chirpy, as Barkley, Whiskers, and the others held off waves of incoming Zorkar reinforcements. "Keep moving!" Barkley barked, slamming into another soldier. Sparks flew as his jaws clamped onto its glowing blue armor, tearing through the metal. Mittens led the humans through the maze-like halls, her glowing tablet guiding the way. "We're almost to the extraction point," she called out, her voice steady despite the chaos around her. Chirpy squawked encouragement, darting around the humans and using his quick reflexes to keep them moving. Come on, squawk! No time to sightsee." At the rear, Whiskers dodged a laser beam, leaping onto a Zorkar soldier's back and clawing at its sensors. "I thought this was supposed to be a rescue mission, not a last stand," he hissed. Barkley growled in response, knocking another soldier to the ground. "You can complain after we win." The team reached the central chamber of the ship, where the core pulsed with energy. The walls glowed an intense blue, the light casting sharp shadows across their faces. "This is it," Mittens said, her paws flying across the tablet. "I'm overriding the core's controls, but we need to plant explosives to finish the job." Claw, who had joined the strike team midway through the mission, stepped forward. His amber eyes gleamed as he held up a pack of explosives. "Leave that to me." As the team worked, a chilling voice echoed through the chamber. "You've been a thorn in our side for far too long." Commander Vlek stepped into the room, his tall, angular frame radiating menace, his glowing blue eyes fixed on Barkley, and his clawed hands flexed menacingly. "Leave now, and I may spare your pathetic planet," Vlek sneered. Barkley growled low in his throat, stepping forward. "Earth isn't yours to take," Vlek smirked. "Brave words for an animal." Without warning, Vlek lunged at Barkley, his movements unnervingly fast. The two collided in a blur of fur and claws, their struggle shaking the room. As the others watched in shock, Mittens shouted, "Keep working, we don't have time for this." Whiskers leapt to Claw's side, helping him plant the explosives around the core. "If Barkley doesn't make it, we're going to need a plan B," he muttered. Chirpy flitted above, dropping small bits of debris onto Vlek's head. "Don't lose, big guy. Squawk, we're counting on you." The battle between Barkley and Vlek intensified, each blow shaking the floor. Despite Vlek's strength, Barkley's determination kept him standing. "This ends now," Barkley growled, delivering a powerful blow that sent Vlek staggering. The drone hummed with life, its lights flickering as the pets and freed humans clambered aboard. The walls of the Zorkar command ship shook violently, cracks spreading like spiderwebs across the metallic surfaces. The countdown timer on Mittens' tablet ticked relentlessly. 1:30, 1:29. "Go, go, go!" Barkley barked, ushering the humans into the cramped interior of the drone. His sharp eyes darted to the collapsing chamber behind them, where sparks flew and panels fell from the ceiling. Claw, his fur bristling and amber eyes narrowed, was the last to leap aboard. "That's all of them," he growled. "Punch it, Mittens." "Don't rush me," Mittens snapped, her paws flying over the drone's controls. The engines roared to life, and the drone lifted off with a lurch, narrowly dodging a massive piece of debris that crashed to the floor below. From the cockpit, Chirpy squawked excitedly. "That was close. Squawk! Too close!" Inside the drone, the humans huddled together, their faces pale with shock. Some whispered hurried prayers, while others stared wide-eyed at their animal rescuers. One man, clutching his injured arm, looked at Barkley in awe. You saved us. You're not just pets. You're heroes." "We're survivors," Barkley replied, his voice steady but tinged with exhaustion. "And so are you." The drone burst out of the command ship just as the final countdown reached 0. Behind them, the core detonated in a blinding explosion of blue and white light. The shockwave rippled through space, consuming the command ship in a cascade of fire and debris. For a moment, everything was silent. Then, a cheer erupted inside the drone. Humans and animals alike celebrated their escape, their voices mingling in a cacophony of relief and triumph. Chirpy flitted above them, doing loop-de-loops in the confined space. "We did it! Squawk! We're still alive!" Mittens, however, wasn't smiling. Her paws moved frantically across her tablet as new data streamed in. Barkley noticed her furrowed brows and stepped closer. "What is it?" he asked. Mittens hesitated, her tail curling nervously. "The fleet. It's falling apart without the command ship, but there's still a large contingent heading toward Earth. They're retreating, but they might try a desperate strike before they go." Barkley nodded, his jaw tightening. "Then we need to make sure they don't." Back on Earth, the Resistance held their ground as the final wave of Zorkar forces descended. The sky above the factory was ablaze with energy beams and explosions, and the air was thick with the acrid scent of burning metal. Whiskers, standing atop a barricade, shouted orders to the gathered animals below. "Keep those drones away from the factory," he yelled, his green eyes flashing. "Raccoons, I need more debris traps on the west side. Squirrels, keep their sensors blinded." The wild animals moved with precision, their movements coordinated like a well-trained army. Claw's Lynx squad darted between the trees, striking at the Zorkar soldiers with brutal efficiency. The forest became a maze of traps and ambushes, forcing the invaders into disarray. At the factory, the domesticated pets fought fiercely to protect the remaining humans. A golden retriever barked as he dragged a wounded human to safety, while a pair of tabby cats worked together to disable a grounded drone by ripping out its wiring. Whiskers leapt from the barricade, landing on the back of a Zorkar soldier. His claws raked against its exposed circuits, sending sparks flying. "Get off my planet," he hissed, delivering a final slash that sent the soldier crumpling to the ground. Despite their efforts, the Zorkar forces pressed harder. A massive transport ship descended, deploying an entire squad of elite soldiers. The Resistance faltered for a moment, their morale wavering. Then, a deafening explosion lit up the sky as the command ship's destruction became visible. The animals paused, their eyes widening as they realized what had happened. Whiskers seized the moment. "They did it!" he shouted, his voice carrying over the battlefield. "Barkley and the others destroyed the command ship. This is our chance. Push them back." A roar of determination swept through the Resistance. Renewed by the sight of the Zorkar's defeat, they fought with everything they had. The elite soldiers, now leaderless and disoriented, began to falter. Claw, standing at the front lines, let out a fierce growl. "This is for shade," he roared, charging into a cluster of drones. His claws tore through their armor like paper, his amber eyes blazing with vengeance. By the time the sun began to rise, the remaining Zorkar forces were retreating. The battered but victorious resistance stood triumphant, their cheers echoing through the forest. As the last Zorkar ship disappeared into the sky, the resistance returned to the factory. The humans, now safe, emerged from their hiding places to join the celebration. Animals and humans mingled, their differences forgotten in the shared joy of survival. Inside the factory, Barkley stood before a makeshift podium, his fur still singed from the battle. The room was filled with animals of all kinds, their faces reflecting a mix of exhaustion and pride. The rescued humans sat among them, their expressions one of gratitude and awe. "We stood together," Barkley began, his deep voice carrying over the crowd. "Against impossible odds, we fought for our home, for each other, and we won." The room erupted into cheers, but Barkley raised a paw, silencing them gently. This victory came at a cost. Rex, Shade, and so many others gave everything to make this possible. They fought for a future we now have the chance to build. Mittens stepped forward, her glowing tablet clutched tightly in her paws. "The Zorkar might be gone for now, but we can't assume the fight is over. We have to rebuild, to stay united. If they come back, we'll be ready." Whiskers rolled his eyes but smirked. "And if they do, we'll give them another reason to regret it." Chirpy flitted onto Barkley's shoulder, squawking loudly. "Earth's pets, undefeated champions, squawk!" Laughter rippled through the crowd, lightening the somber moment. As the humans stepped forward, their leader, a tall woman with streaks of grey in her hair, addressed the group. "We owe you our lives," she said, her voice filled with emotion. "We thought humanity had lost all hope, but you proved us wrong. You showed us what courage, unity, and determination look like." Barkley nodded solemnly. "It wasn't just us. It was all of us. Every animal and human willing to fight for what's right." A young boy stepped forward, kneeling beside Mittens. His face lit up as he extended a small medal to the tabby cat. "You're heroes," he whispered. Mittens, taken aback, looked at Barkley. The German shepherd gave a small nod. She accepted the medal, her whiskers twitching. "We're survivors," she said softly. "Just like you." As the sun set over the factory, the resistance gathered one final time. A memorial had been erected outside, a stone engraved with the names of those who had fallen in the fight. Rex, Shade, and countless others. Barkley stood before it, his gaze steady. "We honor them not by mourning their loss, but by living the future they fought for." The group stood in silence, each reflecting on the journey that had brought them here. Whiskers broke the quiet with a sardonic comment. "So what's next?" "Taking on the galaxy?" Chirpy squawked. "I vote we start with a vacation, somewhere with no aliens, no lasers, and lots of snacks." Mittens smiled, her round eyes glinting with determination. "Whatever comes next, we'll face it together." The camera panned upward, revealing Earth bathed in the golden glow of dawn. The scars of battle remained, but the planet stood resilient, ready to rebuild. The pets had proven that even in the face of overwhelming odds, courage and unity could triumph. As the screen faded to black, Barkley's voice echoed, "This isn't the end. It's the beginning of something new,